Yo, I'm Yovan Buha, Lakers beat writer for The Athletic, and welcome to another Lakers postgame reaction show. I just got back from Crypto.com Arena, where the Lakers dominated the Atlanta Hawks 136-105, a nice bounce back win after a couple of deflating losses to the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors. LA improved to 37-32. And with the Golden State Warriors losing to the New York Knicks tonight, they jump back up to the number 9 spot in the West. I'm going to run through a few numbers here and then get into my 3 takeaways from the game. LeBron had a great game, 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists in just 28 minutes. AD, who was questionable entering this game coming off of his corneal abrasion last game against the Warriors, had 22 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 assists, played a team-high 31 minutes. D'Angelo Russell had 27 points and 10 assists, hit 6 threes, tying Nick Van Exel for the all-time franchise single-season record at 183. So the next game that D'Angelo Russell plays, theoretically Friday against Philly, he will break that record and become the Lakers' all-time single-season record. Say that fast a few times. Austin Reeves had 12 points. Rui Hachimura had 17 points. And Max Christie came in off the bench and gave the Lakers a nice boost with 11 points, all of which came before this game was completely out of hand. So it wasn't like he was racking that up in garbage time. But let's get into the 3 takeaways from this game. Before we get into takeaway number 1, I want to just quickly say, I hope you've been enjoying my content. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning and have not hit the subscribe button yet, please consider doing so. And if you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate you. Thank you for the support as we continue to grow this out. Now, after that quick plug, let's get into takeaway number 1. All right, so takeaway number 1 for me is LeBron James set the tone tonight. And really, this is back-to-back games that LeBron has played with great energy and spirit and focus. And I was critical of his performance in Sacramento in what was essentially a must-win for the Lakers. And I felt like he came out with a lack of urgency through the first 3 quarters, was mailing it in defensively. Sacramento made 19 threes in that game. And in going back and watching the film, roughly half of those could be attributed to LeBron mistakes or just a lack of general effort defensively. And to see that type of effort in such an important game was disappointing. But these last couple of games, he's bounced back. And in the Golden State game, he nearly led the Lakers to a second half rally. They just didn't have enough bodies, didn't have enough defense with Anthony Davis out to go along with all the other guys that they had out. And then tonight, I thought he set a tone early with attacking the rim, continuing to play bully ball against a smaller front line. There were several times where he could have faded away or settled for a jumper, and he just attacked the rim. There was that one sequence that stood out where he contested a DeAndre Hunter 3-pointer, races out in transition, seals a couple of Hawks defenders, powers up a layup. Then Austin gets an inbound steal, throws that wraparound behind the back pass to LeBron for the emphatic dunk. Hawks call timeout. And that was really one of the turning points of the game, that the Hawks had made a little bit of a run there. I think they got it to like within 5 or so after the Lakers had been up by double digits. And from that point on, it was a blowout. But the larger point with this is that LeBron really sets the tone for this group from an energy perspective. And the nights where he's playing lackadaisical defense and not making the extra rotation, maybe not making the extra pass, looking for his own shot a bit, you see that has a trickle-down effect to the rest of the roster, and guys start to ISO more, the ball is sticking more, Lakers are getting stagnant, and then defensively, they're not rotating, they're not boxing out, they're not getting defensive rebounds, they're not on a string defensively. But tonight, and really I thought the Golden State game, for most of that game, LeBron was locked in on both sides of the ball. He did not speak with reporters tonight, but we did speak with Darvin Ham and Anthony Davis, and they both said that it's money time right now, right? And the Lakers are trying to make a run here. They're trying to get out of the 9-10 game, see if they could get into the 7-8 matchup, give themselves a second shot at making the playoffs. And LeBron is the one leading the charge. Now, it would have been nice to have that effort against the Kings. That was a really important game. And it would have made the Warriors' loss sting a little bit less for the Lakers had they won that game in Sacramento. But it is what it is. The Lakers can only move forward and try to control what they can control. And that's winning against the Sixers on Friday and then against the Pacers on Sunday before a 6-game East Coast road trip that's coming up. So I thought LeBron was spectacular tonight. Again, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. The 10 assists really helped spark the ball movement for the Lakers. D'Lo, again, also had 10 assists. LA had 39 assists on 52 shots, made 15 threes as a team, or 17 of 20 from the free throw line, so shot 85%. That's really good for this group. There's been a lot of games where they've shot in the 60s and 70s. So overall, not much to take away from this game. Like, this is a game the Lakers should have won. Atlanta had been playing better recently, but they were on a back-to-back. They had just actually stomped the Clippers the night before in LA. But with no Trae Young and a team that's 10th in the East, now 8 games under 500, like, this is a game the Lakers should win, and should win emphatically. And they did. And they took care of business. And now they get 3 days off, which I'm going to touch on a little bit more in one of my other takeaways. But just an overall, an impressive win, a good win, a much needed win, coming off a couple losses. And to me, it all traces back to LeBron James and his focus, his sense of urgency, and his overall energy and spirit. Takeaway number 2 is the Christian Wood injury update is an unfortunate blow. ESPN was first to report the news. And if you haven't heard yet, Christian Wood is going to be undergoing arthroscopic knee surgery on that left knee that's been bothering him since the All-Star break. He was supposed to be reevaluated a couple weeks ago, and that came and went. No update. It has been a little frustrating to deal with the lack of updates on the injury front from the Lakers. Still, no real update on Jared Vanderbilt. Gabe Vincent is back on the court in terms of non-contact stuff, doing some conditioning. But those timelines continue to come and go in terms of reevaluation periods, and we don't really get much of an update. And you hear certain things behind the scenes, but clearly some of the stuff is just being kept under wraps and not being shared for whatever reason. Now, Wood is expected to miss several weeks, but I would be surprised if he plays again in the regular season. Now, who knows? He could recover better than expected, and maybe he's back for the last couple games, or he's back for one of the 2 play-in games if the Lakers do end up playing in 2 play-in games. But there's clearly a chance that he doesn't play again as a Laker this season, and it's certainly a blow to the Lakers and their postseason ambitions, just because they don't have the size to replace him. And as we've seen, there's been a lot more Taurean Prince at the 4, a lot more 3-guard lineups as guys have to scale up. And the numbers have actually been better than expected with some of those groups, but that's often come against lottery level teams or just not serious competition. Like I look at even tonight against Atlanta, like you can get away with Taurean at the 4 or more 3-guard lineups. But against some of the teams the Lakers might face in the play-in tournament, or if they make the playoffs and have to play a Denver or even an OKC, I think they're going to want to play bigger in those matchups. And we continue to see Jackson Hayes and Anthony Davis share the floor for a few minutes a night, but it's not really a consistent thing. It's not something that's happening maybe as much as it should be, just given the success of 2 big lineups for the Lakers this season. But now they're likely not going to have the 3rd big of that 2 big look. And we've seen some successful LeBron, AD, Christian Wood lineups. We've seen some successful AD Christian Wood lineups, even some successful Christian Wood Jackson Hayes lineups. And I think he just gives the Lakers a different look off the bench in comparison with Jackson. He's actually a better shot blocker, which was something that has surprised me this season, but definitely a much better rebounder and a better floor spacer, and a guy who has actually acclimated fairly well to a lower usage role. And the idea of Christian has always been better than the reality of him. He hasn't quite lived up to some of the lofty preseason expectations that both the Lakers and the fan base had for him, but he has had productive moments. And again, he just allows the Lakers to play a bit bigger. And if it means more Christian Wood and less Taurean Prince, or at least less Taurean at the 4 and less 3-guard lineups, I think that's a net positive for the Lakers. So I don't want to overstate his absence. I think there's a chance that in a playoff series, he wasn't even going to be in the rotation anyway. Like he probably was more of like a fringe 8 to 10 man in the rotation, but it's still the optionality isn't there. I think he could help in certain matchups, particularly the Phoenix matchup where he's had success against the Suns in the regular season. And I think the Lakers are going to miss him. So this is a loss for LA, and we'll see if we get an update soon on Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent. Those two have not been ruled out yet for the remainder of the regular season, but there's less than 4 weeks left until the play-in games, and Lakers are running out of time to get these guys on the court, get them ramped up, and get them reacclimated in the rotation. So we shall see what ultimately ends up happening. But this is the first concrete information we've gotten on one of these 4 guys that's been out for a while now. And it wasn't good news. And it could be a bit until we get more information on Vando and Gabe. And finally, takeaway number 3, I'm going to go with third time is the charm. And that's because the Lakers are going to have 2 days to prepare for the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday. They will be off on Tuesday, then they will practice on Wednesday and Thursday. And the last couple times over the past week that they've had 2 days to prepare for an opponent were against the Kings and then against the Warriors. And the Warriors won. I don't necessarily hold against them just because Anthony Davis got injured, obviously, in the end of the first quarter and missed the rest of the game. So their best laid plans went awry. But in the Kings game, it was a lot of the same issues as the previous 3 Kings matchups, and they did not meet force with force. They did not rise up to the level of their competition. And it was a pretty lackluster effort for LA. The Warriors won. I think that was more a personnel-based loss and specifically just not having Anthony Davis. I think if he plays in that game, they likely win the game, or it's at least much closer in the fourth quarter. Now, the Sixers are without Joel Embiid, which makes the Lakers solid favorites in this game, but they have been playing better recently. They've won 3 of 5. Tyrese Maxey has been playing at an all-star, if not like all-NBA third-team caliber level. Kelly Oubre Jr. has assumed a higher usage. Tobias Harris has been in a bit of a rut, but he's due for a big game any day now. Buddy Hield has been playing better off the bench. So this is a Sixers team that if the Lakers don't take them seriously and don't properly prepare for their perimeter firepower, and perimeter firepower has often been the Lakers' Achilles heel defensively this season, this is a group who could easily drop 120, 130 on them, hit 15 to 23s, and at least make this a competitive game, if not pull off the upset on the road. And as I mentioned previously, Lakers are now back in 9th, so they are 37-32. The Warriors are 35-32. LA is technically 2 games up in the win column, 1 game up overall. But if they can beat Philly and Indiana and go to 39-32, that puts them in a solid spot in terms of holding on to that number 9 seed. Right now, it's looking more and more like it is going to be LA and Golden State in some order for the 9-10 game. Golden State has a game against Memphis on Wednesday. That should be a win for them. And then on Friday, they host the Pacers, which is a big game for both teams. So a critical stretch here for the Lakers. I think it's good for them to have a couple days to prepare for Philly, a couple days to rest and recover for guys dealing with ailments. It'll be good for LeBron's ankle. It'll be good for Anthony Davis's eye. We did speak with him, as I said, post-game, and you could see his eye wasn't swollen shut anymore, and his eye wasn't even that red, but when he would turn it, and you could kind of see the corner, it was very, very red and aggravated. And he had to go to the eye doctor and go through different testing. And he said there were some things that they discovered with his eye that he didn't want to get into, he didn't want to share, but that were noteworthy. So it'll be interesting to see if we ever get an update or clarification on that, or someone reports that. But I think for the Lakers, just having those guys resting in LeBron and AD and just the load that they're carrying, but then also Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, giving those guys a chance to maybe try and get back on the court or at least progress in their return to play plan. That's critical to have a few days off. So this is a big week for the Lakers. I mean, every game matters from here on out. Every game is a must win. But this is the last week they're going to have this much time off and this level of preparation for an opponent. So the third time is potentially the charm if they can figure out a way to beat Philly and use this rest to their advantage unlike the last couple times. But that'll do it for tonight's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'll be back on Wednesday with a live stream Q&A, and then again on Friday with episode 6 of Buha's Block. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I will talk to you soon.